Aloha, everyone. It's Wednesday, December 17th, 2025, and this is episode 618. I'm Junmi, and joining me today is Andy and Brian. We'll cover today's AI headlines and take a deeper look at what OpenAI is doing for AI in science. This is the Daily AI Show. Good morning, everybody. So let's start off with some news. Let's do a round robin. Andy, let's start off with your news story for today.
Okay. You guys know that I'm a big fan of Notebook LM, and the leaders in the engineering team that built Notebook LM at Google left and formed their own startup called Hux. And that Hux is a audio assistant that synthesizes all the information from your email, your calendar, and everything else, and basically gives you a daily briefing, which is really, really useful. Well, it didn't take Google very long to see that, those guys, had a good idea. So they've just launched in labs a thing called CC, which is an email-based productivity tool that does essentially the same thing, but in email. So basically, let me read to you what they say. It's, this will save time for users. It's an experiment, but you should, sign up for the wait list, which I did this morning. It's powered by Gemini. It connects with your account. So you have Gmail, Google Drive, and Google Calendar all, being looked at by CC. And it provides you with a daily brief via email. So this is a little different delivery mechanism, but it does that thing. And it's basically your day ahead email, as they call it. And that's what Hux does, but Hux does it in a beautiful voice interface. So I still prefer Hux based on the description, but I haven't tried the CC Labs email daily brief version. But what's interesting when you get the integration that's done by Google is you can also reply to or email CC at any time with requests. So you can't voice connect to it, but that's coming. You got to believe in the future. But you can send emails to that CC app, and it will add things to your calendar and do all those things. So it becomes your personal assistant in your Gmail account. Pretty cool. It's right now only available to AI Pro and Ultra users in the US. But it's going to be available only to consumer accounts at the moment and not workspace accounts. So you have to be an individual professional paying for Gemini or Ultra, but that's not terribly expensive at the pro level, $20 a month, in order to use that tool. And then you have to sign up in labs to get the on the wait list.
Gotcha. And this is it. Would you equate this to what's the one from OpenAI? Didn't they offer to their pro? They offered a daily digest type of.
They have a thing called Pulse, which is a little more comprehensive. Pulse, and Carl is using Pulse and is a fan of it, and he's actually written about that and done a video on YouTube about Pulse, because Pulse goes beyond just summarizing your day or giving you a briefing about what information is in your thing. It's looking at and listening to all of your conversations that you do through OpenAI. And then it's actually volunteering new information that could be assistive to whatever you are working on. So OpenAI actually has, I think, a really great advance on the simple tool that Hux represents. And they're not simple at all, but I mean the less it's a sort of initiative-oriented applications that Google and Hux have built, and instead is doing something that's be really, really assistive by advancing your work, nominating things that could be of interest to you based on what it's seeing you be expressing interest in.
Gotcha.
And I just want to add to that. I thought I remember reading this, that there was a pause on Pulse development but that might have been wrapped into, well, what we'll talk about today, the new image model, as well as 5.2, and making that the priority. Now, whether that's already done in past because they're now both out and there's focus there, but it's interesting because Carlos talked about it, like you said, Andy, a couple times on the show, and just talked about how he really likes it. And it, even farther than that, Pulse is sort of a tether for him to OpenAI models because of how good it actually is. And I think it's a good indicator. It's a good sign from what Carlos is saying, is that the stickiness, the moat of these AI tools will probably be less about, are they the best benchmarked model, and more about the deeper understanding of memory. I think it's going to be in 2026, it'll be the makers who are so good at the memory about making it such a great user experience for you that even if a new model comes out from another maker, you're less likely to move because you would go, it's kind of like a good CRM, right? Once you're in, you're kind of in. It's very difficult to move off of a Salesforce. It's very difficult to move out of a HubSpot. They know this, right? So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. That, like, I don't know if there's still a pause on Pulse, but Carl loves it, and he's a big user of it. So it's important. It's interesting to know.
So to dip your toe in this area, I volunteer Hux, and Greg's saying, yeah, Hux is great and he uses it every day.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Brian, I completely agree about the memory thing. That might be the big buzzword for 2026.
It might be, yeah. And it's as I'm pulling up a new story here too. I would say, Jimmy, like, it's not even that it's just done. We've talked about this a lot on the show. It's that it's done right, and right is tricky when it comes to memory. We've gone deep dives into that before, right? Like, just, it's not about all-knowing memory. That doesn't actually solve the problem. It sounds like it does, but it actually doesn't when you really dive into what that means. It's like, no, you want selective memory, like the way we have selective memory, and some things carry more weight than others. So it's a weights thing, and they'll figure it out. I mean, this is not something that's solvable. Yeah. But like, how quickly will it happen in 2026? I mean, it's definitely going to be part of it. I have a 1-2 punch for news, kind of in sort of a weave off of what Andy was saying, but it's in the wearables area. So the first thing is that there is a new Chinese called Looky, a wearable that's called Looky, Looki. I have it up here on the screen. Looks like it's going to cost roughly 212 equivalent US dollars. And if we look at the little image here, I don't know. It looks like, I guess, some of the other wearables. We've certainly seen this where it's, the idea is that it's hands-free. It's always recording. It's paired with AI-driven content organization. But they also are saying on this, from this Chinese site, this gizmochina.com site, which I've personally never been on, but it was recommended from Future Tools from Matt Wolf. So that's kind of cool. The L1 automatically records daily life while prioritizing user privacy. All data is stored locally by default, and content is uploaded to the cloud only after the user grants permission. The device supports AI-generated vlogs, AI-powered smart search, and so-called personal life insights through Looky AI, which aim to help users better understand patterns in their daily routines over time. So this is, this is another device that will be interesting because it's certainly not trying to hide itself. If you're hanging this around your neck, you're saying, I'm using this device, right? You're kind of putting it out there in the world. And so we will see. We'll see if these things kind of catch fire, maybe in other countries, maybe in China. This will be something that more people use. I think there's a lot of skepticism about devices like this. And people would be, I think, rightfully concerned if they were, talking or whatever to somebody who has this sort of, I don't know, it almost reminds me of, that yellow reminds me of the Walkmans back in the day, or the right with the sport mode,
the sports model,
the sport mode, it looks very, the gray and that yellow are very, very nostalgic as far as what that looks like, because it makes me think of my youth and having CD players that didn't skip, right? That was the big deal. It's like you could actually walk with them and the CDs wouldn't skip. So.
I'm just going to say that I don't see that catching on anywhere. Middle speed, it's a little too obvious, and people don't like being recorded.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of blowback, even about Ray-Ban Meta glasses. I saw something in a news thing that said that some places
brought it up.
prohibited use of Ray-Ban Meta glasses in their environment or something. By the way, here's a Chinese company that's putting out a pendant model that is exactly what Limitless was, and Meta purchased Limitless and then killed the pendant. Said no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So they're moving instead towards other types of wearables that are more discreet. So go ahead on the Meta AI glasses.
Yeah, you know what? And actually, I'll just let me swing back to this. Maybe this does catch on in China where it would in the United States, because I'm not going to speak by any means for Chinese culture, but I do know from just watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, culture in general is much more at ease with the idea of monitoring and cameras. It's probably more part of their life. And so this may not be something that really causes anybody any concern. They're like, if you're walking around China and you know you're on cameras all the time, if that's just part of the society over there, and somebody has this pendant on, do you even look twice? You're like, whatever, I don't know. I'm always, anything I say out in the public is probably being researched.
I mean, imagine if I approached that woman in the thing to have a conversation, and she's got right up by her neck, she's got the yellow thing.
Yeah.
There's a safety element to that, I think. If you're being recorded, so it'd be nice.
Right.
I think that's helpful, but I just think it's socially off-putting in many ways.
I think they need to have every Starbucks barista needs to have one of those around their neck, just so people are decent human beings. If people, when they're ordering their
constant monitoring so that everyone is chill.
Pretty much. I mean, right. I'm going to open up a coffee shop and it's going to be AI forward, and my thing is that you're always being recorded at the camera. Be nice or we'll turn you into a meme or a viral video. Just don't come into my coffee shop if you don't want, if you're just a poor human being. Don't do it, because we will expose you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this actually speaks, like Andy was saying, there's a privacy issue or whatnot. As soon as any of these devices become mainstream, you're definitely going to see the counterpoint where someone's going to have the privacy version. Right. So there's just going to be this communication bit where the devices are like, are you set to be okay? Yes. Okay, cool. Now you will record each other. Or the other device will just be like, oh, I'm just monitoring any signal. And if I recognize the glasses signal, I'm just gonna be like, nope. And
just like near field communication, right? NFC. Yeah. It's almost like two phones having NFC, right? Like you get close enough proximity to somebody else and it just shuts down. It's like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there'll be that offering as well.
It'll be Meta glasses, and the Meta glasses will be talking in your ear going, hey, FYI, there are devices around you that are always recording. It's giving you play-by-play of your environment and saying you should be careful in this in Brian's coffee shop because they're recording everything. That's their shtick. That's what they're doing.
Right.
The quick update here on the Meta glasses is two things: conversation focus and Spotify integration. It says and more, but let's just talk really quick about those two. Helping filter out noise with conversation focus. I do not have Meta glasses, but I will tell you something that it's actually not a problem. It's like I've always joked and said, no, it's my super hearing that's a problem. I have if I'm in a noisy environment and my wife is across the table in a noisy restaurant, I can hear her and every other table at about the same volume. I don't do really well with being able to hone in, and it can actually give me headaches and stuff. And it's enough of an issue that we don't really go to like super noisy places because it just all sounds the same to me. Now the nice part is I can hear people farther away and stuff, but I have a hard time focusing. And so I've actually tried out devices long before AI that helped with that. There was like earbuds at one point, well before the iPods and stuff, that were basically a hearing aid, but the idea was that it helped you focus. And it basically backed out like background noise, like it was noise cancellation before that was really a big thing, in your Bose headphones. So the idea that glasses might be helping out with that. I mean, it's open ear, obviously, as you're seeing here. So how that works to help you focus, I'm not quite sure. It might just be amplifying whatever I'm looking at, which honestly, kind of nice. I would like this. I don't know if I'm going to wear these glasses across the table for my wife just because at dinner, but if it was a device and it allowed me to have a nicer conversation with the people that I'm at the table with without that rush of all the other information, that would be nice. The other part that they had was with Spotify, where it could play music based on what you're looking at. I don't know. This sounds like a gimmick to me. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't try it or play with it, but like, I don't know how much I need that. But I guess if I was out at a nice picnic or something, and I was like, give me the music that's the soundtrack to this location, and it did it well enough, I guess I wouldn't be mad, but I would actually rather it be connected to Suno, and I'd be like, make me a song about the environment I'm in and play me that soundtrack. As y'all know, I'm on a big Suno kick lately. So anyway, 2 wearables, one from the Chinese company, what was it called? Looky, Looky, and then Meta continuing to make improvements to their Meta glasses and what they can do, which I actually think is kind of cool. I would buy a pair of Metas. I would at this point.
Gotcha. Yeah, the Spotify things is interesting. Maybe we'll see a resurgence in everyone having their own theme song.
Let me just say, in response to your endorsement of Meta's glasses, I toyed with the idea of getting them this year, but Google's coming out with theirs next year.
Yeah.
And the problem with Meta is you're locked into Meta AI. Like you can't use Meta glasses with Gemini or OpenAI or anything like that. My guess is that the Google glasses will be more versatile. And I'm just going to wait that short period of time and see what the feature set is.
Gotcha.
It's a good point, actually. Yeah, I agree with you. Oh my goodness!
I'm sure there'll be some AI platform agnostic versions and things like that coming out.
Yeah, there's only one right now, and it's a no name one that you've never heard of before. But I got the holiday glasses, and I found how limiting it was for those glasses to only work with that company's AI, and how constrained the display was in response because of the absence of voice. I started to look into it, and so that's what led me to the decision to wait for the Google release.
You know what? Honestly, you have a valid point, Andy, and you're right. I would not buy the Meta glasses until I saw what the Google release was. That's a valid point, because I would much prefer have Gemini 3 Pro in my ear.
Having said that, I believe you'd be very happy with the Meta glasses, as many people are. Yeah. They are the leader in the AI wearable space, and Meta is no slouch. I mean, they have really good features, but Google's better.
Okay, well, let's switch from glasses to images. All right, so OpenAI said it's releasing its new version of ChatGPT Images, powered by its new flagship image generation model, GPT Image 1.5. The company said the update targets 2 pain points: instruction following and edit fidelity. It said the system can make precise edits while keeping details intact and generate images up to 4 times faster than before. OpenAI also added a dedicated images tab inside ChatGPT, aiming to move image work from one-off prompts into more repeatable workflows. Image generation is already a crowded space, with rivals pushing higher photorealism and faster iteration cycles. So OpenAI's differentiator here is positioning. It framed the release as a practical creative studio for everyday edits and enterprise use, not just novelty art. Flagship model means the company's best available model. The core product bet is that the tighter edit controls and faster turnaround will put more creation work into ChatGPT itself, rather than standalone design tools, and it raises a practical question for teams. So why does this matter? Whether image edits become audible, brand safe, and reliable enough to sit inside real production pipelines, which kind of goes to the recent deal with Disney. So, Brian, you said before the show that you got some hands-on with the image editing. What do you have to show us?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, I was saying before we went live that I miss being on shows. Jimmy, you've been doing Wednesday shows for the time being, and I've been missing a lot of Wednesday shows, so I don't get to be on with you. But I love when you slip into your like announcer voice. You slip in and out of it, like as you were reading that blurb there. Like there was a little bit of that, and then you came back out of it, and it just made me smile. So I just want to say, like, I appreciated that, even if you didn't mean to do it. Yeah, the images thing. So, look, I think they're taking a page from what they sort of learned with their Sora, release and putting that in an app. I would not be surprised to see images show up in its own standalone app. That kind of would make sense to me, but it's in ChatGPT. And I haven't had a ton of time to do it. I looked at some stuff that Nate Jones had put out. He was mostly focusing on head-to-head against, obviously everybody's going to look at it against Nano Banana, as well as for its ability to like do graphs and charts. I have not played with that side of it yet, but that is a very good use case. But this is what it looks like. And so I just picked a few of them here, and I'll show you a few. Basically anything that's to the left here. This one was before images came out, because I use it a lot of times to do the comics for the newsletter. But I'll just click through a couple of these. Oh, I guess it's not going to show you. So this was, I thought it would show me the previous. This was an old 19 somethings, 50s maybe, picture of my dad's side of the family. My dad's not in this, but it's like the Maseri side is what I'm trying to say. And it's all grainy and black and white and pretty rough, the original image to it. And I've done this before. I thought it did an okay job. I think the colors are still washed out. I mean, if you look at the prompt, it's supposed to be like it was taken today. And just knowing what are they called? In the background there. What are those called?
Those are called awnings.
Awnings, thank you. Yeah, I was like, oh man, what is it? Awnings. This is in Brooklyn, right? So these awnings would have been colorful. And so everything is sort of washed out. It's like it threw a little color at it, but it didn't, I wouldn't say it like necessarily colorized it. It also didn't make it look like pop art or anything, but nonetheless, it's fine. It's fine. I don't have any problems with it, but I've seen better. So I'll just say that was one of them. This was one where I took an image of my daughter, and I wouldn't say it looks like my daughter, but there was a pop image one, and it took an image of her like looking out a window, and then it made this image for it. So I thought that was, fun and something I could see my daughter actually using a lot with her friends.
In DC Comics style. Yeah, very recognizable.
And then let's see, where's the other one? So this one made me laugh. This was fun. This is me, my wife on the left, and my daughter on the right. And this is actually out of an image of us at the UGA game, not like a couple weeks ago. And it made like a plush one. I actually really do love this one. And I think I will try to create this into an ornament for the tree this year. And not like 3D, but just like the image. You can kind of create pictures into ornaments. But we have all sorts of fun ornaments on our tree, and I actually kind of want to make this into an ornament and surprise my wife and daughter. So I thought this one was fun. Now, for more complex, I gave it one image of my wife just sitting at a table. It's a really pretty picture of my wife. And I said, in a more complex prompt, hey, I want you to create a full comic that is about the frustration of putting up Christmas lights. And I gave it a couple things like when lights go out or whatever. So just the reference image of my wife, and then say create a 6-panel comic that's funny about trying to put up lights. I did not tell it what the wording should be or anything, because that would be more of a Nano Banana type use case for me, where the thinking is going on before it actually produces the image. And Nano Banana is actually really, really good at it, and ChatGPT has not been good at it. So, I mean, whether we would consider this to be the funniest comic anybody's ever, whatever, but it's close enough to what my wife looks like to say, okay, that could be my wife. And then, she's just arguing about it, and she had a white top on, so it kind of kept the same top of the dress that she had on, and, it's fine. And then I went one further, and I said, I gave it a screen grab of our show yesterday. So it was me, Andy, Ann, and Carl on the show yesterday. And so I literally gave it a screen grab of the show, just literally this, Spotify, StreamYard. And I said, create a comic about AI news from the last week. Now, I think it's fun because if you look at like Ann's outfit, that's what she was wearing. Me and Carl kind of looks like Carl. I did have a gray hat on yesterday. And so I don't know. That kind of looks like Carl. That definitely looks like you, Andy. I like that it gave you a 5 o'clock shadow there at 7 a.m. in the morning. Versus having the goatee. It just sort of gave him the 5 o'clock shadow. I think Anne looks the most like Anne, honestly. So I'm sorry she's not on the show today. But if you were to go through and read this, it is not about news from the last week. It is about 4.0 and I don't know, robots or something. And man, it really sort of just whiffed when it came to the actual creative side of it. Now, this isn't necessarily a downside because what I would have normally done if it was like a newsletter is I would have said, here, I have an idea. Let's flesh out the idea, the back and forth, the funny of it, right? The sarcasm, the whatever. I would have done that first and then say, give me a prompt. And then I would have said, make an image. But I think this is showing that, at least from what I can tell in my very, very brief this morning testing of this, is that it does obviously have the ability to do thinking and processing before it creates the image, because I really didn't tell it what to put in there. I said, you have to go research the news to figure this out. And here are some 4 people I want you to have in the image. You do the rest. And that's a very Nano Banana thing. And so I wanted to that's what I wanted to test. But clearly I would want to keep working on this to test things like graphics, obviously. How easily can you fix something in a graphic? So we're updating slides all the time, and I've been using Nano Banana, but sometimes it could be a little like Nano Banana gets a little sticky with like whatever the first generation it creates is. So something I would want to be testing as a differentiator for ChatGPT, for me at least, would be, okay, create me this schematic, this infographic, this whatever, right? That I want to show a client. And then let's say that I'm like, oh, you know what? You created this chart. I like it, but to Nate Jones' point in one of them, this bar in the bar chart should be higher than the others. You did that wrong.
Right.
And it's editing adherence, prompt adherence to fixing exactly the thing I asked for. Personally, Nano Banana isn't great at that. I think it does great at giving you a very good 90% there for a shot. I don't really love the editing. So if the editing is better, if I can take this image, or sorry, it's not on the screen anymore, but if I could take that comic of me and Ann and Andy and Carl from yesterday, and I can say, I love the characters. You nailed it. But I think the joke is crap, right? So like we have to come up with, but it's not from the last 7 days. Do it again, and it adheres to that and doesn't mess with what I did. Like that actually would be.
That's their primary claim about this image generator.
Okay.
What I'm talking about here is GPT Image 1.5. And this is, and let me just read the claim, which is, now you can iterate directly on images, shift styles, refine details without ever regenerating the whole thing. So it's not going to make regeneration errors when you try to make a modification to the thing. It's going to go very specifically to the elements or components of that image that you are addressing in the subsequent chat and make those edits. Now, that's great. And you're right. That's going to be a key feature if you're going to be building visuals that are going to support, your reports or, just even the fun things that you're doing. But where, Image 1.5 fell down compared to Nano Banana is in adherence to the logic and the smarts that are in the associated model, Gemini in this case, or ChatGPT 5.2 in the case of OpenAI and Image 1.5. So Image 1.5, you saw, all of us have seen the side-by-side comparison that Nate Jones put out. Image 1.5 failed on a waterfall chart by, making the waterfall all one direction. Whereas a waterfall chart is kind of a graphic display of all of the component elements of a change from one state to the next. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative, and it shows how, what contributed to getting to the final result in the subsequent period. Well, Gemini Nano Banana combination nailed it, and Gemini and Image 1.5 from OpenAI made the starting point, which was supposed to be low at 4.2 million. It made it as high or higher than the 5.3 million at the end, and everything was going down. So
yeah, right.
it was all wacky, and that says to me that there isn't in OpenAI yet a tight integration between the logic that's being, supported by the LLM and the image generation component, which is trying to reference that and then deliver something. Whereas on the Gemini Nano Banana side, you're getting much, much tighter integration between those two.
Well, I think that is a great point, Andy. And to Garrett's comment, to do a head-to-head. So, Brian, I think in the community, you should do a head-to-head between the different models of Nano Banana and GPT Image and see if what kind of data and results we can get from that.
I will say, I know we want to move on to other stuff. I am like actively testing this exactly what you said. Weirdly, like all I said was, I love the characters, but I don't like the joke. It doesn't seem like you actually pulled AI news from the last 7 days. Fix it with this in mind. That was my whole prompt. So it didn't. It gave me top AI news from the last 7 days as a normal ChatGPT. I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, make this a comic about, one of them was about image 1.5. I was okay, make a meta comic about the images, right? About waterfall charts failing, because that's what Andy was literally talking about live. So then it wrote me the 6-panel revised comic concept first. And then I was like, okay, but like where, but again, this would have been my process, but like, where is the comic? And I will tell you, this is just me going from the editing of the image. It's creating the new image now. It is totally lost track of the characters. Like irrelevant to like, so I did an edit directly off that image and said, this is what's wrong with it. And it took me down a whole other path, and I'm watching it recreate. It's making it a comic now, but it has 3 people in it who look nothing like us. And I don't know. Let's see if it's even a good comic here. Let's see. It is about the revenue flowing uphill. So it is wrong. Just do it manually. Yeah. Maybe 2026 we'll get an AI that can actually finish a slide deck. So that was the joke at the end of it. So it did the thing. And it's a fine comic. I'm sure I could reiterate on it for like the newsletter, literally. So, I mean, yes, but hold on a second. I started from an image edit, but it totally discarded that and went a different route. So here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that Nano Banana would have done better with this. So this is not a knock on it. It's just kind of like where we are.
Gotcha. Hey, and Carl's just joined us. How you doing, Carl?
What's going on, guys?
You perfect timing, as always. We were just about to move on to a new news item. You got something for us?
I do. And I wanted to, where was it? So okay. Have you talked about the Gartner report that was mentioned on the Paul Reitzer podcast? Have you talked about that yet?
Not today, but Andy talked about Gartner the other day, right, Andy?
Oh, did you talk about?
I'm not sure I did. Go ahead, Carl. Tell us about it again.
If you didn't, so the report was, sorry, not Gartner. It was a Gallup study, and I wanted to bring it up because it is okay. Let's see. Boop. It's worth, yes. Okay. So can you see it? Or who's bringing in that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can do that. There you go. Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah. Go you first. That is, by the way, that is a Canadian problem. When you open the door, both of you are trying to open the door to let each other in. So it's awkward. So you're trying to open, the other person's open. You first. It's like, no, it's you first. You first to open the door to. It's a very Canadian. It's actually, yeah. Anyway, so, I thought this was really neat because Paul and Mike were talking about it, and the first thing is here. This is 2025 Q2, Q3, and so they were saying how like, okay, in 2025 Q2, so this is how in U.S. workers how often do you use AI in your role? So daily, weekly, daily, few times a week, few times a month, few times a year, once a year, so on. So the so this one is daily. So it's only gone up from Q2 2024 to it's only gone up 4% daily, which is very interesting. Now, a few times or more a week, still only going up not that much. This is the biggest jump a few times in here. Like, I was like, okay, well, that's fine. It's just, I thought this chart right here was very interesting, which does match. It still boggles my mind when we go into meetings and we ask these questions. How many, mind you, when I say how many people use AI daily, everyone puts their hand up. But when I say how many of you pay for it, most of the people put their hand down. And I said, do you reasoning? No one knows reasoning. Do you use custom GPTs? No one knows that. So it's significant decrease. So I just thought this was really neat in terms of using it daily. It's not very much. Use it a few times a week or more. It's like the jump isn't as big as like, all those other studies. This one I think is more useful because I think this was like 20,000 people versus the Microsoft, the Deloitte, the McKinsey. I'm like, that's probably your clients, which is a skewed piece anyway. So I thought this was an interesting use piece.
And how far back is this comparison? Is it
so this was December 14th. How far back?
Yeah. Is this comparison from like 6 months ago, 12 months ago?
Well, based on their data,
like
all the way. So I think they upped it again. So 2025 Q2 to Q3, there was more significant jump. You could see that though, higher jump than here. So maybe it is a higher uptick as we get into 2026.
Gotcha. Yeah, I do like the cross section of 20,000. That's surveying more or testing more is definitely going to give you far more accurate numbers.
And I thought this one was interesting too. Employees often use AI to consolidate information, generate ideas. So we always, when we present, we talk about this gap between people who use AI frequently and those who don't. And then another gap we're seeing is those who use AI frequently and those who use to its full capabilities. Consolidate, generate learn new things, automate basic tasks, identify problems. Like, it's still super basic. Like, these things are all super basic stuff that we've all learned how to do way back, right? So it's interesting still. This is the use case. And we're seeing it too, right? Because like, oh, how many people use daily? Okay, here. So what do you do with it? And it's like, oh, we just use it for the number one response, creating documents and editing our email. That's usually it, right? So,
and I would say like a lot of it too, Carla, is still one-off use cases. Like getting people to think about reoccurring. I mean, whether that's a custom GPT, an agent, a gem, a copilot, whatever. Like the idea of not starting from scratch every single time, and as Ricky Woods would call it, getting an AI playbook and taking the extra 10 minutes to create a process out of it. Like you just don't see that. It's just very much like, I feel like if I was to get access to a bunch of my random clients, sales reps or GTM people, their ChatGPT or something, like I almost guarantee you most of the threads that I would see would be like starting from scratch, not from an actual custom GPT or a gem or something that already had some knowledge in it. And yes, people are starting to use projects more. I do hear more of that now. I don't, projects are projects, they're fine, but I hear more people doing that, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of in line with what you're saying here. From it wasn't Gartner. Who did you say this was?
Gallup.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't trust Gartner because I have a feeling if they put theirs out, it's going to be a little bit more skewed too. But Gallup seems like, oh, okay, this was that rose my head as like, oh, if this was McKinsey, Deloitte, I would have just, okay, whatever. But this was like, wait a minute, this is Gallup.
Yeah.
It's trusted. they do a pretty comprehensive, they do a lot of surveys and people trust them and they have pretty good track record. So I was like, oh, okay. This makes sense. Although I wanted,
I was just going to say, I'm assuming that their cross section of surveyees, I guess, is the all in employment levels, company levels.
Yes, it isn't just a specific set of like enterprise tech, like that kind of piece. They did say, which is interesting. Where was it? Who are the U.S. employees working in knowledge-based jobs such as technology or professional services were more likely to use AI than those in frontline positions? 76% of employees in tech or information systems, 58% in finance, 58% in professional use, 57% in professional services used AI in their role. So very interesting because so we were doing a discovery for an accounting firm, mid-sized, right, around 80 to 100 people. And when you ask them, hey, how many people are use AI? It's like a smattering and it's all free. They're all using the free, whatever they're using, mostly ChatGPT. One person used Copilot, and that person was still excited about how that person changed his email. Like, the person was super excited about that. The moment I showcased Excel, Claude Excel in plugins, like the Claude Excel plugin, it was like something was like, this is like the second coming. Like, it was like, what? And then I was like, oh yeah, let's do a heat map. And then one person's like, do you know how long it takes to do a heat map? I'm like, yeah, like 2 minutes. It's like, no, it's like days. And I was like, 2 minutes? And that was the thing, is I was like, you're taking it to the most advanced, because not very many people know about Claude Excel. And I'm like, so you can compare it to Copilot, and Copilot's like, because it's in spreadsheets, right? So Copilot's like, yeah, if you can upload that spreadsheet, I can get started on it. I'm like, no, the spreadsheet's right there. It's like, no, if you can upload this, I was like, no, Copilot, no, delete that. And so that was the thing, is like, when you see it actually work, and when you see like just Claude and it's in how it works, it's like, what? And then one person, I think, was talking to me after, she's like, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do now. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, that's what mostly I do. And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Learn how to use the tool fast to be the best at using the AI tool. That's the answer.
He's like, how much it costs? $140. She's like, I am so buying that, like, right away. It's like,
yeah.
Carly, you here tomorrow or Friday? Are you on the show tomorrow or Friday?
Yeah, I am both days. Yeah.
I don't think it's like, I won't be here tomorrow, but if I'm not either way, I think you should totally bring up what you shared in the Slack channel about the vibe coding, because it kind of goes right in line with what you're just saying about people are like, wait, hold on. And you're like, yeah, that's like a 2-minute thing. And this whole idea of people like building to understand the problem. It was the article you shared, because it was like building to understand the problem and then using that as your like leverage to go to another company and say, okay, we don't really want to build this. We want to buy your solution, but we're a whole lot smarter about
what build versus buy. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, that one. I was like, I couldn't think of what it was called, but yeah, it was a really cool article. And anyway,
it's not as much like, so I created a TikTok on just that, like the lawyer vibe coding a certain feature of Harvey AI and Ligor. How many software engineers commented on it saying, just disparaging it, right? And it was interesting because a whole bunch of other people comment. It's like, oh, I've already done this. I built this for this. I've replaced Monday.com. I've replaced HubSpot. I was like, interesting, because I always ask those people, how did you do it? And it's like, and people are like, oh, it's not secure. And it's like, I was like, but those same people are like, yeah, but it doesn't need to be secure because I'm running it internally, no connections outside. I just want to do it myself. And I was like, I think it's interesting, the perspectives, and I get both sides and the most valid comments. It was like interesting, and it's it's more sarcastic, not as vitriol as like creatives and designers who are against AI anything, movies, videos, images, but there is still a little bit of like, I'm going to disparage it because you can kind of see it starting to really hit home in their profession. Like you can start.
You're saying you touch point.
Yeah. It's hitting a nerve there already, right? Yeah. Not as creatives are super, super vitriol. This is starting to hit the nerves. Like, wait a second. Well, it's not secure. It's like, but does it need to be if I'm doing it for myself or my little small law firm? I don't know.
Here's a weave off of that to just add a little snippet of news here. There's a new study out that shows that the 6 leading AI models now pass all 3 levels of the chartered financial analyst examination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, would I ever pay for a CFA going forward if I can just use any one of the major models and create a custom GPT or a gem to be my financial analyst?
Yeah, without potential bias. I mean, there might be bias in the model, but without the potential bias of somebody who's looking at it through their lens or whatever, there could actually be.
It gets commissioned somehow. Now there are fee paid, financial advisors, but I've never bought one, and I certainly would trust AI. I am trusting AI with a lot of financial modeling that I'm doing in a bespoke way for my particular situation, not just advice over the phone, but literally modeling exactly my situation and simulating it out there to optimize for liquidity and for taxes.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, Andy. Just a quick side note. I literally this morning bought a receipt scanner. Like it's a unique device just for receipt scanning. Now, I was looking for one that was literally this small, but I get the point that you'd want one the size of a piece of paper too, because you have larger receipts and invoices and stuff. And not that my wife and I run a big side business, whatever, but I've always said this, I try to keep a line item budget. Well, something I want to do in 2026 is make that more AI influence as far as that budget goes. And so I had this idea. I go, oh, well, I could just use the receipt scanner. All the images can go into a folder. If they go all into a folder, I can just use N8N to extract the right information out of that, separate out those receipts from the right vendor, like Publix or wherever I might have been shopping that day, and accurately put it directly into the Google, because I just use Google Sheets as far as my budget. And so I had this process sort of starting to formulate in my head about kind of like what you're saying is like, oh, wait, hold on. I have image readers and scanners, and we have AI that can read images and make complex answers out of those images. Hold on a second. Why am I looking at any receipts on my desk anymore? Like, I should just scan it in and not think about it again and just be like, come home from the store, wherever it is, scan it through. It goes to the cloud, and then the automation will just look for it on a time base. And once a day, it'll be like, we got 4 more receipts that came in from the family, or, invoices or whatever it is that we might need to look at from the family, and just run that through an AI automation and just put it where it needs to go into the budget. So anyway, just in that process of family, finance and stuff.
Yeah, I am personally getting tired of having to look at receipts just to try to figure out whether it's in this year or not, because they stack up,
Yeah.
So a scanner and or your phone camera, would be great if you could just kind of create a workflow that gets those things in, and the OCR that's built into these models figures all those details out, captures every single one of those details. I'm going cross-eyed sometimes trying to see an old Home Depot receipt that's faded away. They don't have permanent ink on them. So if you wait too long, you couldn't see when it was.
Yeah. I almost like that better than I can't figure out how much I just spent at Lowe's. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It must have been $20, babe. Must have been $20. And she's like, I think there's another zero there. I'm like, nope. I said this year I'd only spent $20 on new Christmas stuff.
Well, before we move on, was there any other news story that you wanted to make sure we covered?
One big one, only because I do have one big one that I want to share, because I think it is pretty impressive. And this is from Kling. Wait, hold on. Let me go back so I can read what it says. Kling AI voice control features now live in Kling Video 2.6 update. I think this is a big deal, and man, did they knock it out of the park with this video. So I'm going to try I haven't had a ton of luck with trying to share videos, but let me see if I can get this to work really quick. You hear it?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello? Is that my voice? This one feels soft.
This one feels powerful.
Give me any voice. I'll keep it perfectly. I have my voice back, and now I have all of them.
Wow. It's nice.
They nailed it with that video. I like really, really well done on that. Oh, sorry. There we go. Come back. I think they really nailed it on that. What a great little promo for going in and using Kling with the different voices. I'm excited to try that out.
Can I? Okay, how much time do we have? We have 4 minutes. I was wondering if any of you saw it was done 5 days ago. It has 2.1 million views already. Has anyone saw it's Anakin Skywalker right after Revenge of the Sith? That video. And it's about 8 minutes long, but I want to show you about a minute worth it if it's okay. Sure, we can. Okay. So I stop that. I want to show this. So again, this is when everything that we talked about this week, the Disney deal, what you just showed, Brian, what Kling is doing, what O1 is doing, I thought this is what I'm hoping what is going to be streamed on Disney Plus. Okay.
Genie, you're on rail. I'm not touching it.
How are your injuries feeling today? Painful. Would you like me to administer an anesthetic? No. Bacta regeneration is progressing within expected parameters, my lord. Dermal tissue is stabilizing, though extensive scarring remains. Your vocal cords, however, judging by your phonation, they are still severely damaged. Vital signs remain stable, initiating necrotic tissue removal. Your volume is insufficient. Please repeat your command.
I said enough. We are done here.
Understood, Lord Vader. We will resume the examination at a later time.
Wow.
Anyway, it's 8 minutes long. You can go watch it. That was so the first thing I was like USB. I'm like, interesting, USB. But if people can create that, Kling 01, hey, whatever, think of like all the backstories, stuff that were like, what that didn't make any sense, or making your own what ifs, like all this stuff. Because that clip showed and so many people were like, oh, if they had actually made that would have made sense. But there's like gaps and stuff. And I was like, that is pretty cool. And how you can build that. And just the consistency of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. And I just love how he turned from the voice to, that was really, really neat.
Who produced that? Who produced that?
I honestly don't know. I saw it on my TikTok feeds, and then I was like, the moment Ryan put that in, I was like, I found it.
Did they break down the tools or process?
What has no, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
But if that was created, we all have access to the same tools in some form or fashion.
Yes.
That to me is like, that's it. That is, I wouldn't mind I don't know who the creator of that is, but if that same creator is going to create a bunch of streaming stuff on Disney Plus, I was like, yeah, watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying the whole time. I love this idea, and I understand the disruption it's having. I do. Like I said, I have friends in the industry, but man, do I love the idea of the old kids running through the neighborhood with a Super 8, no, not V8, Super 8 camera, or just back when I wasn't using like the Super 8s, but like just the handheld camcorders running through the yard or the woods, making Blair Witch or whatever it is. And then the idea, Carl, that you could be like, you can get your friends who are like, I mean, I'll make the video with you, but I don't want to act. I don't want to be in the video. And then that kid is like, that guy or girl, a boy or girl is like, oh, I just need you to be like, run through. I'm going to replace you. I'm going to replace you with an image and a voice and a different character. You're going to be a Looky. You're going to be a whatever it is. And like, I know how to do this now as the kid, It's like, it's just super fun to me that people are going to have these kind of tools at their disposal. And we're going to see some really, really very creative output from this that are made in somebody's yard somewhere. And we're just going to be blown away by it.
Yeah. I think from the creative side, it's the path or narrative I want to focus on is the capabilities to lower barriers and allow people to be creative, and not have those limitations like you were pointing out. I think you're completely right about the disruption side as well. So it's going to be a bit of a back and forth, quite a bit of it. But I think if we look at it as tools and ways to enhance our own creativity, that's probably the healthier way to go. But we definitely need to make sure that we keep all of the things that could go off the rails in check a little bit. At least be aware of them and keep them in mind. But okay, Andy, did you have another story you wanted to cover before we moved on?
I have two little addenda to the OpenAI discussion that we had earlier about the image 1.5 model. And the two things are, one, you remember when 5 came out, they implemented a model router. So you wouldn't be able to select specifically which model you were going to be using. It would use GPT-5 Flash or, the smaller model. It would then use, GPT-5 thinking if necessary based on the prompt. That model router automation was annoying to users because you didn't really know what was going to happen. And one of the principal ways it was annoying was, sometimes you ask a question and it would take 30 seconds to come back and it just wasn't fast enough. And you wanted just a quicker answer. So they've removed that unpredictable system. So that's one of the things OpenAI just did, because now when you use ChatGPT, it defaults to 5.2 instant for fast response. And you have to specifically select 5.2 thinking if you want a longer, more reasoned answer. The other one is that they released 3 new real-time API endpoints. And real-time API is the voice interaction, streaming with, natural interruptions. And so they've reduced transcription errors. They've cut the text-to-speech word error rates by 35% with these new interfaces. And they've boosted instruction following by 22%. So if you're building an application, you want to have it be a voice application, then OpenAI is really out there at the front end of, providing this. And the only thing remaining is to reduce the cost of those real-time APIs because they can get very expensive. If you're producing an application, you want to enable voice interaction for your users, they can tick up in dollars, per user. So you're really, it's not open to a sort of a freemium kind of model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, unless Carl, you want to cover anything else, I'm going to move on to our next segment. All right.
I thought we're out of time.
Well, I got one last thing. I got to do my AI and science story. Before I move on, I just want to thank everybody for joining us in chat. And if you do want to continue the conversation after the show, please join our community at thedailyAIshowcommunity.com. Okay, so the AI and science story for today is when AI starts iterating in the wet lab. All right. So OpenAI published results from a collaboration with Red Queen Bio, which OpenAI describes as a biosecurity startup. They say GPT-5 improved a standard molecular cloning workflow by 79x in their controlled lab setup. So before we get too deep into it, a wet lab is where you do hands-on experiments with liquids, chemicals, and biological samples. It's the opposite of a dry lab, which is mostly computation and data. And molecular cloning is a basic biology technique for copying and working with DNA. It's foundational for lots of biotech work because it's often how you build or test generic parts before you do bigger experiments. Now, here's the key detail. OpenAI says GPT-5 wasn't physically doing lab work. Humans still did the bench steps. The model's role was to reason about the protocol, purpose changes, to look at the result and propose the next step of changes. That loop repeated over multiple rounds. So it's less that AI replaces scientists and more that AI joins the iteration cycle. That matters because biology is famously limited by iteration speed. You do an experiment, you wait, you measure, you troubleshoot, and then you try again. So they're saying 79x. So they define that claim as for the same fixed amount of input DNA, they got 70 times more sequence-verified clones than the baseline protocol. Sequence verified just means that they confirmed correctness by sequencing, not just by eyeballing results. They also say the improvement came from a novel mechanism involving two enzymes, REC-A and DNA binding protein called GP32, which they describe as helping DNA ends align and match correctly. Now, here's the important limiter here. OpenAI explicitly says these gains are specific to their model system and still require human scientists to set up and run. They also note they do not expect this approach to replace simpler, more robust everyday methods in most use cases. So they should treat this as interesting evidence that models can optimize real protocols under constraints, not biology is solved. Now, a second layer here is OpenAI also describes a robotic system built with Red Queen Bio and robot on rails. The idea is you hand the system a natural language protocol and it can execute with a combination of LLM translating instructions, a vision system locating labware, and a robot path planner moving safely. They report the robot got similar relative improvements compared with humans, though absolute yields were lower. If you squint, that points to a near future workflow. Models propose experiments, automation runs more of them, results come back faster, and humans can focus on judgment and direction. We've seen early AI agent scientist systems in chemistry. For example, Nature came out with a 2023 paper described co-scientists, which used LLMs plus tools to plan and execute experiments in automated lab environments, including working through documentation and using lab APIs. So we're looking at LLMs plus tools, experiments, and feedback loops. Sorry. So let's take a look at safety now. So OpenAI says they ran this in a tightly controlled setting with a benign system and limited scope because better biological reasoning has biosecurity implications. They point to their preparedness framework, which explicitly tracks biological and chemical capabilities as a risk category. Now, what I like about this story is the shifts in evaluation. It's not, can the model talk like a scientist? It's, can the model help a team iterate faster? If we can do that safely, the practical upside is huge. Fewer dead-end cycles, faster troubleshooting, and more shots on goal for real research. And the hard part is also clear. Reproducibility, governance, making sure capability doesn't outrun controls, things like that. So I'll just close this off with a question to mill on. So when AI can propose and refine real experiments, do we measure success by speed, or how reliably can we turn results into knowledge we can trust across the labs? So I guess this is the larger question of, and this is kind of some of the stuff I've been covering in various AI and science stories, is the AI processor, or the AI scientist doing these mundane levels of iteration and testing and things like that. And that seems to be where we're hitting that sweet spot right now. I guess figuring out when the trust system and how is that trust going to be expanded upon in the next 12 months or 24 months, and what kind of growth are we going to see with LLMs or with AI in general in the different science fields? What's that next step with AIs in science? Right now, it's the iterative side. We have it analyzing, for lack of a better term, past data, historical data in science and various papers and things like that. What's that next thing we want to see AI going into? So that's my AI and science story for this week. I hope I left highlighted our latest AI applications in science, and leaving some questions to think about for our next iteration. All right. Well, before I close up for the day, Andy, is there anything you need to cover?
Yeah, well, I have a science tidbit to add here. It'll only take 30 seconds. Researchers at IBM successfully ran quantum language models on IBM quantum processors. That's a transition from theoretical simulations running on supercomputers of what quantum processors could do to a working quantum AI system that's running a language model. So quantum computers are taking step by step major moves towards accelerating AI and accelerating computation generally.
Gotcha. Yeah, the quantum space is definitely moving pretty quick. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap all of it up for today. We do have shows for the rest of the week, so join us on Thursday and Friday. I want to give a big mahalo to everyone who joined us today in chat, and everyone who's just watching a little later. If you want to keep up with the discussion, join our Slack community at thedailyAIshowcommunity.com. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing and hit the things that make the dings so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time, keep your minds and your hearts open. Aloha.